We are joined by Mr. Amit Syngle. He's the MD and CEO at Asian Paints. Hi, Amit. Thanks so much for making time and speaking with us. You have guided that double-digit volume growth will likely continue in Q1 FY24 as well. What's the demand trend on the ground at this point of time? And do you believe that volume growth will be able to surpass the value growth in Q1?
So when we look at the quarter which has gone by, quarter four, I think the overall demand has been pretty good in terms of what we have seen. Even the exit growths in March, what we have seen are pretty decent in terms of across the country in terms of what we are seeing. Overall, we feel that as we go ahead, definitely, I think the double-digit volume growths will pan out. And as we look at the value growth would depend literally on the product mix in terms of how we are able to kind of navigate our overall sales as we kind of look forward to that extent. But as we see it, I think both value and volume should be healthy sales as we go ahead.
Mr. Syngle, there was a very big beat on the margin front. At least that's what excited the street. Yesterday, the stock went up and today follow-up buying. You have guided for margin band of 18 to 20% with the exit rate close to 21%. Talk to us about how will this range really pan out? Are you being a little conservative given that all the raw material and ingredients actually have seen a downward spiral past couple of months?
See, it's very difficult to say in terms of what route the commodity prices take because the geopolitical situation currently is also quite unstable as we see it. And given the fact that there is definitely a high inflation which is going across the world and the fact that there are a lot of raw materials which are imported, we are not very sure in terms of what is the route the material prices are going to take. And we also feel that as we kind of go ahead, possibly, there could be some price corrections we could take depending on how the demand pans out, because we have taken quite a few price escalations in the last 1.5 years to that extent. So depending on how the quarter really pans out, we will look at how these movements have to be made. And therefore, we are still pegging the whole PBDIT in the 18 to 20 range.
Okay, Amit, that point is taken, but what's the outlook on the industrial segment, considering a lot of auto majors, including likes of Maruti, etc., are planning record capex at this point of time? Do you believe the shift is likely to be, very different when it comes to the mix of industrial versus residential for you?
So when we look at the Indian market, generally the share between decorative and industrial has been in the ratio of about 70-30. As we go ahead, we have seen that last year, the auto market has done quite well, and we see that the auto market will continue to do well in terms of as we see this coming year. And therefore, overall, it's not only the auto as part of the industrial, even the general industrial business is something which is shoring up and doing well. Quarter four has been very, very strong with us in terms of both the automotive sector and the non-automotive industrial sales, which has come in to that extent. But as we go ahead, we feel that while this industrial sales will be good, it might not really change the percentage between the industrial and the deco overall to that extent, because both the businesses are kind of growing, and it is not that industrial will be outstripping deco so much that it will take a larger share as we kind of go ahead.
Mr. Syngle, when we chatted with Kansai Nerolac recently, they highlighted that fiscal 24 is expected to be a strong one, considering longer Diwali, but need to be watchful on El Nino factor because that does impact demand, especially on the rural belt or smaller towns. What are your thoughts on this factor?
See, overall, what we see is last 3 years have been pretty good in terms of for the paint industry. And given the fact that there is clearly a GDP projection, which is happening between 6 and 7%, typically the paint market has been kind of really following 1.5 percentage times the overall GDP growth in terms of how it kind of looks. So we feel that overall the year should be kind of quite healthy as we kind of go ahead. Yes, there are some indicators in terms of monsoons, which are not very, very clear at the moment. And monsoon has a telling effect with respect to the sales happening in terms of the T3, T4 cities and the rural demand really coming up to that extent. But I think given the fact that there is a longer Diwali and so on and so forth, definitely it is expected that when you look at Q2 and Q3, I think that is something which would be definitely much better than what we have seen last year as well to that extent. And therefore, I think overall, we are pretty kind of looking strongly at the coming year in terms of the overall growths.
So quite positive about the coming year, but of course we'll have to watch out for the monsoon factor. But how will Grasim's entry, and in fact a lot of other players, right from Pidilite to JSW to the other groups as well, JK Group, etc. We have seen that they're talking about getting into the paints business. How's the competition likely to change the outlook for your business?
So when we see the overall market today, the paint market is estimated to be anywhere between 70,000 to 75,000 crores. As we look at the next 3 to 5 years, the industry is supposed to grow to about 1 lakh crores in terms of the overall size. So if there is any entry of any new player, we think that even if they are able to garner, some amount of sale, their share in the overall business cannot be more than 3 to 4% overall to that extent. And for a share like this, I don't think so they will be able to kind of really change much of the areas in terms of what's happening in the market today. I think some players who are small and some players which are in the unorganized sector might get affected a little, but I don't think so that there would be too much of a telling effect which would happen with respect to the overall larger organized players in the market.
So you're saying basically competition is welcome. It won't really move the needle a whole lot for players like you. Ms. Syngle, thank you very much for joining us on the show. The stock is gaining over 1% today, over and above the 4% when the results